Hidden Voice revealed how one black waitress changed the life of an incredible Japanese billiards prodigy. In the heart of Chicago, the sun blazed down on a bustling diner, where the rich scent of melting butter and sizzling bacon filled the air. Mary, a hardworking 28-year-old black waitress, moved swiftly among tables, serving pancakes and coffee with a warm smile. Beneath her bubbly demeanor, however, lay an unwavering strength, a fierce dedication forged from the struggles of raising her 3 younger siblings after their mother's untimely passing. Life was not easy, bills piled up like dirty dishes, and she often went to bed tired but hopeful, but today felt different. The light streaming through the diner's windows illuminated a moment poised for transformation. A timid figure stepped through the door, a young Japanese guy named Kenji, his eyes downcast, gripping a billiards cue like a lifeline. Mary noticed the sadness in his gaze, an echo of her own concealed battles. "Hey there," she greeted him gently. "What can I get for you?" As he ordered a simple breakfast, Mary felt an unspoken connection. They exchanged stories over coffee, a bridge built through their shared dreams and trials. Kenji spoke of his passion for billiards, the thrill of sinking a ball, and yet the weight of family pressure that left him feeling like an outsider. Mary understood all too well what it meant to chase dreams in a world that often dismissed them. With each tale, Kenji's heart lightened, and in their laughter, they uncovered a friendship forged in the fires of their struggles. As their rapport deepened, Kenji decided to enter a local billiards tournament. Inspired by Mary's resilience, he felt driven to prove his worth. Yet with tournament day looming, those hopes were shadowed by the harsh truth of a world that was not always kind. Discrimination waited at every corner. Mary's heart clenched for him. She realized that the odds were not merely against Kenji, they were stacked high by a society that had little room for those deemed different. Determined to stand by her friend, she rallied the diner's regulars. Familiar faces lit up her cause, the elderly veterans who recognized glory in overcoming prejudice, single mothers reflecting their own fights, and the youth, yearning for freedom to pursue their passions. Together, they would be Kenji's voice, a community standing tall against the silence of bias and inequality. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the tournament arrived, bright lights glaring down like judgment. Mary's heart pounded as she stood beside Kenji, who prepared to take his first shot. The atmosphere dripped with tension, whispers echoing from the crowd. Could their convictions hold against the looming threat of disdain? Kenji steadied his breathing, realizing he was playing not just for himself, but for all those who had felt the sting of exclusion. With every shot he took, the stakes rose. And as the final frame approached, the anxiety surged. Discrimination reared its ugly head once more, leaving Mary and Kenji hanging on the edge of despair. With their world tipping toward uncertainty, they caught glimpses of allies in the crowd. Would their dreams triumph, or would they still fight against the barriers closing in? As Kenji prepared for the ultimate shot, a breath held tight with anticipation, the room faded to silence, leaving everyone wondering if this moment would shift the tides forever. Kenji felt the weight of the room pressing down on him. The flickering lights cast shadows over the faces watching intently. Each breath he took echoed in the silence, mixing with the pounding of his heart. Mary stood beside him, her knuckles white as she gripped the railing. She had believed in him when no one else did, and now it was more than just a game, it was an affirmation of their shared journey. With unwavering focus, Kenji studied the table before him, assessing the balls lined up like soldiers. He had practiced this moment in his mind 1,000 times, yet nothing could have prepared him for the reality of the noise, the eyes, and the stakes. He could almost hear the whispers of doubt creeping in, but he pushed them away. "I'm here," he thought, "not just for me, but for everyone." He leaned down, aligning his shot. The cue felt heavy in his hands, but he embraced that weight as a challenge. He could feel the heat of the spotlight as if it were a physical force, urging him to succeed. He let his breath flow out slowly, diminishing the noise in his head. In that singular moment, he could see Mary's encouraging smile in his mind's eye. She believed in him, and that thought ignited a fire within. He pulled back the cue, envisioning the path of the ball, the click of it hitting the others, a symphony of sound that could break through the tension. Kenji's hand glided forward, the cue striking true. The ball glided across the green, felt perfectly, sinking the 8-ball with a satisfying thud. The crowd erupted, voices of support blending into a storm of cheers, but then, out of nowhere, a voice cut through the celebration. "You don't belong here." The words dripped with disdain, aimed at Kenji like a poisoned dart. Silence followed, thick and suffocating. The cheers turned into murmurs of shock, those who had supported him now taut with uncertainty. Kenji's heart dropped, fear creeping in on him once more. But then, Mary stepped forward, her voice steady and clear, "That's not true. Kenji has every right to be here. We all do." Her words roared confidence back into the room, and the familiar faces of the regulars began to rise in support, echoing her sentiment with passionate affirmations. Kenji felt the wave of encouragement wash over him, restoring his focus. He caught Mary's eye, and in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't just his battle anymore, it was theirs together against a world too often divided. The next shot would determine not just the outcome of the game, but the spirit of the fight they were all standing for. Kenji inhaled deeply, absorbing that communal strength, and approached the table again. He was determined not only to win, but to push back against the unfairness that loomed in the air. The challenge now transcended the game, it was a stand against all the times they had felt less than worthy. He could feel every heart beating in rhythm with his own. As he prepared, the crowd shifted from unease to anticipation. Kenji focused again, aiming for a challenging shot that could change everything. His heart pounded loudly in his chest as he aimed, ready to follow through and perhaps spark a transformation bigger than the match itself. In that moment, he knew what he needed to convey. But would he have the courage to strike not just the ball, but the very notion that had tried to confine him? Would he land the shot that could turn not only the game but society's perception around? With that thought swirling in his mind, he pulled back the cue once more, silence enveloping him again as he prepared to redefine the odds. A deep breath filled his lungs. This was his moment. And then, just as he took his shot, a shocking revelation from the crowd shifted everything. What was coming next? The cue ball connected with a satisfying crack that resonated throughout the room. But the sound was drowned out by a chorus of gasps erupting from the crowd. Kenji's heart raced, not just from the shot itself, but from the unexpected revelation that hung heavy in the air. He didn't even see the ball's trajectory, his eyes had darted toward the source of the voice that had disrupted the moment. "Who said that?" he blurted, searching the audience for an answer. Confusion rippled through the crowd, faces shifting from shock to curiosity. They were all grappling with the gravity of the interruption, and then, a woman stood up. She was small yet fierce, her presence suddenly monumental. A waitress from the diner where Kenji had practiced countless hours. He recognized her immediately. "You have no idea who he really is," she shouted, her voice rising over the buzz. "He's not just some kid playing a game. He's worked harder than any of you could imagine." Kenji's breath caught. The ripple of recognition washed over him. Memories of late nights spent practicing alone while the diner emptied flickered into view. This woman, with her sharp gaze and unwavering belief, had always been there, supporting him quietly. He had never imagined she'd speak up, but now, there she was, challenging the very doubts that haunted him. "And you?" she continued, eyes ablaze with conviction, pointing at the person who had thrown the insult. "You don't own this space, and you definitely don't define him." The crowd seemed to inhale collectively. Kenji could feel the tension shifting. An unexpected strength surged through him. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for her, for Mary, for everyone who had ever felt less than they were, everyone who had once faced judgment simply for being who they are. "Thank you," Kenji shouted, his voice rising firm and clear. "You're right. I have worked hard. We all have." The warmth in the room morphed into something electric. With renewed hope, Kenji returned to the table, feeling the weight of 1,000 silent voices cheering him on. He took a deep breath, absorbing their collective faith, and aimed his cue with newfound clarity. "Okay, universe," he whispered to himself, deep in focus, "let us do this." As his cue struck once more, the ball rolled across the table, dancing with purpose. Each player's eyes glued to every movement, anticipation crackling in the air. It was not just a game anymore, it was a pivotal moment layered in meaning, woven in the fabric of every struggle they had experienced. 3 balls fell one after another, the crowd erupting once more. The noise washed over him, a tidal wave of energy that pushed him forward. He felt himself on the brink of something greater, something that transcended the game and reached into the heart of acceptance. "Come on, Kenji!" Mary shouted, her voice a beacon amid the chaos. He took a moment, pausing to soak in the cheers, the smiles of unity around him. For the first time, he didn't battle against fear, he embraced his journey, the tribulations, the unspoken love from everyone behind him, but as he aimed for his final shot, darkness crept back in. Doubts flickered at the edge of his thoughts. What if this wasn't enough? What if he failed despite everything? The moment stretched as he struggled with the fear of letting everyone down. But then the waitress's words echoed again, reminding him of who he was and how far he'd come. Kenji's grip tightened on the cue, and he shook off the momentary flicker of doubt. Then, he pulled back, determination center stage within him. This wasn't just about winning, it was about proving that dreams could shatter boundaries. With one deep breath he released, the ball soared toward the pocket. Was this the moment that could change everything for Kenji, or would he find himself lost in the echoes of disbelief? The crowd held its breath as the cue ball glided smoothly across the table. For a heartbeat, time seemed to slow. Kenji's heart thundered in his chest, pounding with both hope and dread. The ball danced toward the corner pocket, inching closer with each movement. Would it slip in or veer away at the last moment? A collective hush enveloped the spectators, all eyes fixated on the table. Kenji felt sweat prickling on his brow, a fiery sensation as the world around him faded into a blur. In that split second, he was reminded of every late night at the diner, every moment of doubt, every cheer from Mary. Then, it happened. The cue ball connected with the other balls, a crisp collision that snapped him out of his trance. The sight was mesmerizing, each colored ball ricocheted, finding their paths, and as the last one sank into the pocket, the room erupted. A roar of jubilation filled the air. Kenji's heart soared, enveloped in an overwhelming sense of triumph. "Oh my God! You did it!" Mary's voice rang like music to his ears, and he turned toward her, a grin splitting his face wide open. He was no longer just Kenji, the kid from the diner. He was Kenji, a champion. Faces in the crowd blurred into one ecstatic expression, joy mixed with disbelief, as if they, too, had shared in his journey. But amidst the cheers, he caught a glimpse of the woman, the waitress. She stood off to the side, her eyes beaming with pride. In a moment that felt raw and real, he nodded to her. "Thank you." As the crowd surged around him, eager to congratulate him, Kenji felt like he was standing on top of the world. But then, almost as quickly as the joy had surged, something tugged at his heart. What would tomorrow bring? Would this one victory be enough to change anything? Mary slipped through the throng and stood beside him. That was incredible. She beamed, her excitement infectious. "You really showed them." "Yeah, I guess I did," Kenji replied, the weight of the moment slowly settling in. But over the excitement, shadows danced in the back of his mind. What if the whispers of doubt returned when he returned to the diner? when the applause faded into the night, surrounded by newly friends and a growing sense of uncertainty, he stepped outside for a breath of fresh air. The cool night wind wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. "You, Kenji," a voice called from behind. It was Sam, one of the players he had bested. He approached with a hesitant smile. "I wanted to say, that was a great shot back there. You really held your ground." Kenji raised an eyebrow, not expecting this. Words of praise typically passed through the mouths of the winners. "Thanks, Sam," he replied cautiously. "I really didn't know you had it in you," Sam continued. "Maybe we can practice together sometime. I think we could learn from each other." "Yeah, sure," Kenji found himself saying. Hope flickered anew. As Sam walked away, Kenji felt a pang of awareness. He was at a crossroads. This was just the beginning. There was so much he hoped to achieve, so much to prove, not just to the crowd, but to himself. "Kenji, come on. Everyone's waiting." Mary's voice cut through the air again, full of warmth and encouragement. He turned back, finding the din of laughter and excitement spilling out from the bar. As he headed back inside, determination settled in his chest. This moment was just one small step in a much larger journey. But as he re-entered the crowd, Kenji's gaze caught a dark figure lingering at the edge, watching intently. Who were they? And what did they want? The room felt electric, but a new sense of uncertainty flickered in the air. The celebration was far from over, but so were the challenges ahead. What paths lay before him now? Kenji stepped back into the bar, the noise around him swelling and crashing like waves against a shore. Laughter and cheers filled the air, but the dark figure in the corner pulled at his focus, a mysterious blur that anchored his excitement. "Hey, Kenji. Let's celebrate." One of the guys from the crowd shouted, slapping him on the back with an enthusiasm that sent him stumbling forward. His heart raced, engulfed in a mix of joy and confusion. He played along, flexing a grin that felt a bit forced, as if trying to fit himself into the sudden spotlight. Mary nudged him, her bright eyes sparkling. "You truly deserve this, you know. Let's toast to your victory." As everyone raised their glasses, Kenji stole another glance at the figure, but they were gone. Was he imagining things? The celebration around him surged, a kaleidoscope of colors and cheerful voices, yet that single moment of uncertainty clung to him like a shadow. More shots. Someone shouted, and the crowd erupted again, throwing back their drinks in unison. The camaraderie felt electric, yet it was as if he was standing outside of it all, watching instead of participating. He found himself drifting toward Mary, who was sold out on this joyride. "Are you okay?" she asked softly, her excitement dimming to concern as she grabbed his arm lightly. "Just thinking," Kenji replied, forcing a smile. Inside, his mind raced back to the game, the victory. Not just the applause, it was about what this meant for him. Could he do this? Become the player everyone saw in him tonight? "You're gonna go far, Kenji," Mary encouraged, her face a bright beacon amidst the noise. "I've always believed that." Her faith felt like a warm embrace. It washed over his doubts, reminding him of the nights back in the diner, her laughter, her words of encouragement when he doubted himself. But as the joy of the night threatened to fade, he felt an unsettling itch at the back of his mind. "I just wish I could shake off this feeling," he murmured, more to himself. Just then, a low voice broke through the crowd, silencing the surrounding laughter for a brief moment. "You need to put your heart into the game, kid. Not just your skills," said a woman's voice. Kenji turned sharply, his heart racing. It was the waitress. The one from earlier, with a presence that filled the space around her like light filtering through a window. She stood tall and confident, her eyes fierce yet compassionate. "What do you mean?" Kenji asked hesitantly, curious but also unsure why her words impacted him so deeply. "You've got talent," she continued, stepping closer. But talent needs heart. You have to believe in yourself, in every shot you take. Her gaze pierced through the excitement around him, bringing an unexpected clarity. This stranger, who was she to know him so well? I'm just scared it'll all slip away, he confessed, vulnerable, his voice barely above a whisper. In that instant, Kenji felt stripped of pretense. The laughter faded as the weight of her presence filled the room. He needed to share this moment, to open up. What if this is just a one-time thing? What if I can't do this again? She nodded knowingly, a smile breaking over her lips. Fear is a part of the game, just a part. It doesn't mean you can't push through. If you let it, it can turn into your strongest weapon. As the night carried on around him, something inside Kenji began to shift. Perhaps this stranger held a piece of wisdom he desperately needed to absorb. But before he could ask more, she stepped back, lost in the crowd once more. The celebration resumed around him, but a small fire ignited in his chest. Did you catch that? Mary asked, nudging him again, her eyes still sparkling. Yeah, she really gets it, he replied, looking for the waitress again, hoping to find her. He could feel the anticipation hanging in the air, so many paths, so many choices ahead. Could he dive deeper into this? Every heartbeat echoed the question. With determination swelling inside him, Kenji took a steadying breath. He couldn't just be a one-hit wonder, he had to believe he was worthy of this journey. And as he pondered this, he felt the weight of the dark figure return. Was that person still watching from the shadows? The thrill of the night suddenly felt charged with new urgency. What would come next? Would he step into the light or retreat back to the safety of the diner? The choices before him loomed larger than ever. The bar buzzed with energy, yet Kenji felt its vibrant pulse start to fade and dim. His thoughts were now on the waitress, her fervent words etched in his mind. You need to put your heart into the game. He never expected to feel so compelled, yet she had spoken truth that lit a fuse within him. Kenji! Come on! Shouted one of his teammates, a broad grin stretched across his face. They were ready for another round, and the crowd beckoned him to join the revelry. He moved instinctively toward them, but part of him lingered in the conversation he could have had. What would she have said if he could find her again? Mary's arm slipped around his waist, pulling him close. You all right? You've been quiet. We need your spirit here. I'm good. Just thinking, he replied, glancing around as laughter erupted from another corner. Yet behind the cheer, the realization that there was something deeper tugged at his insides. Hey, you've worked hard. Now it's just about letting loose. She said, raising her glass. Kenji clinked his with hers, but the revelry felt tinted with a hue of uncertainty. Then came that surge of energy again, his mind zeroing in on the dark corner where he had first spotted the waitress. Something was drawing him back. Excuse me for a sec, Mary, he said, breaking away. He weaved through the crowd, building anticipation with each step closer. The air was thick, filled with the sweet sense of whiskey and camaraderie. Yet as he turned the corner, that same shadowy figure re-emerged from his memory. And there she was, the waitress, collecting empty glasses, her confident presence striking Kenji like lightning. Hey! I was hoping to talk to you, he blurted, breathless as he approached. She looked up, surprise flickering across her features before melting into a warm smile. You found me. I was hoping you'd come back. Your words, they really hit home. About heart and the game, he admitted, his earnestness filling the air. She nodded thoughtfully, wiping her hands on a towel. It's all part of it, you know. The hardest challenge isn't just the game itself, it's trusting in yourself. What makes you think you can't do this more than once? Kenji sighed, the weight of self-doubt rising again as he leaned against the bar. I'm scared. What if it was just luck? What if I can't keep it up? Sounds like you're fighting a battle within yourself. Don't let past successes be your enemy. "They're stepping stones," she assured him, her eyes fierce with belief. "When you let fear guide your choices, you stop living. You risk losing what you could become." Her words pierced through his haze, and he felt a spark of recognition. "So how do I get there? How do I turn fear into something I can use?" "Embrace it. Use that fear to fuel your passion. What makes your heart race? What drives you? That's where you find your power." Kenji nodded slowly, absorbing the weight behind her advice. "I've been so caught up in worrying about what-ifs that I never considered just going for it exactly." She echoed, her smile widening. "Fear can either cage you or inspire you. Choose to let it fuel your flame." Suddenly, the booming laughter of his teammates faded into the background. The noise softened, the crowd still pulsating around them, but Kenji felt clarity flooding his system. "Thank you," he said sincerely, staring into her eyes as if they were unlocking a door to a life he thought he couldn't grasp. Before she could respond, something flickered in the back of his mind. The dark figure from earlier reappeared in a flash, momentarily jarring his focus. Kenji turned away just in time to catch a glimpse of someone vanishing out the door, a silhouette that seemed oddly familiar. "Wait! Did you see that?" he asked, pointing. But she looked puzzled, glancing back toward the doorway. "See what?" Kenji's heart raced again, the excitement mixing with uncertainty. "That person, they just slipped out. I swear I'd seen them before. Maybe it's someone from the past trying to reach you. But don't lose sight of why you're here. Right now, it's all about your game," she advised, her voice steady, with renewed determination coursing through him. Kenji took a deep breath. He had so much to figure out, so many layers to uncover. But as he watched the door swing a little too slowly for comfort, he felt an urge to chase after the mystery, not just rely on his newfound courage. "What are you going to do?" the waitress asked, reading his mixed emotions. "Something I never expected," he replied, glancing back at her. "I think it's time I learn more than just the game." And with that, he steeled himself, adrenaline pumping through his veins. Would he step out of the bar, embrace whatever lay beyond, and finally uncover the truth hidden in the shadows? Each heartbeat echoed the thrill of uncertainty, and with a glance back he knew he had to find out. Kenji stepped out of the bar and into the cool night air. The noise from inside faded quickly, replaced by the distant hum of traffic and soft rustling leaves. Heart pounding, he turned toward the door. He'd seen the silhouette slip through, a strange mix of determination and anxiety swirling in his chest. That it was darker outside, but the streetlights cast a pale glow, illuminating the sidewalk ahead. He felt a pull, a magnetic force urging him forward. The world around him seemed to blur, his focus narrowing to that fleeting figure and what it could mean. "Hey!" he called out, hoping to catch a glimpse of the person who had just vanished. But the street was empty. Just him, the night, and those whispering thoughts that echoed in his brain. What had he seen? The question loomed large. His heart raced, not just from the chase but from what those shadows represented. Memories, perhaps? Or fears he had yet to confront? He continued walking, each step determined but hesitant. The further he got from the bar, the more he felt the weight of expectation settle onto his shoulders. He had come this far. That waitress's words still rang in his ears. Embrace the fear, don't let it cage you. Just as he considered giving up, the quiet night erupted with laughter from a group nearby. They were leaning against a car, sharing stories, the warmth of friendship palpable. Kenji hesitated, the light of their joy contrasting sharply with his own tumult of emotions. For a moment, he felt an urge to return to that kind of camaraderie, the knowledge that he belonged somewhere, but then, the memory of that silhouette flickered in his mind. He needed to know. He couldn't stall any longer. Taking a deep breath, he pushed ahead, aiming for the corner where he thought he might have seen them last. Then, just as his mind was racing through possible explanations, he spotted a flash of movement down an alley. It felt instinctual, like he was meant to see this. Wait! He shouted, his voice bouncing off the brick buildings. The figure seemed to pause, then turned slightly, revealing just enough to show a familiar face, a face he recognized all too well. It was his childhood friend, Akira. Kenji? Akira's voice was cautious, almost as if he couldn't believe it was really him. The surprise brought a jolt of energy back into Kenji's chest. What are you doing here? Kenji closed the distance, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. They hadn't seen each other in years. The once strong bond had faded with time, but memories began flooding back, the dreams they shared, the games they played, the laughter they had. I could ask you the same thing, Akira replied, heaving a breath as if he had just run a marathon. There was something heavier behind his gaze, a hint of something unresolved. Can we talk? Really talk? Kenji's heart skipped slightly at the thought of having this conversation. Yeah, let's catch up, Akira sighed, rubbing the back of his neck like he was battling anxiety himself. As they settled onto an old bench against the wall, under the flickering streetlight, the chatter and laughter from the bar faded into the background. This was a moment, ripe with promise and memories to unpack. You won't believe everything that's happened since we last spoke, Kenji began, feeling relief to finally share his struggles, his fears around the game, his uncertainties. He could feel the weight of honesty, every word allowing a piece of the puzzle to be laid out before him, but just as Akira was about to respond, a flicker of shadow caught Kenji's attention again. Could it be more than just memories haunting him? The sense of urgency sharpened, pulling him back toward that unfamiliar silhouette. Wait, did you see that? Kenji pointed, his heart revving into a higher gear. No, what Akira started, but Kenji was already on his feet, a burst of adrenaline propelling him forward. Come on! He yelled back, excitement mingling with fear. There was something deep calling to him, something telling him that the truth he sought was just out of reach. With every stride, Kenji felt alive, every heartbeat echoing the potential of this night. Would he finally unveil the layers that had been buried for too long? Would he understand the fear and the courage to face it? He had stepped out of the shadows, now he needed to see what lay ahead. Kenji dashed down the alley, adrenaline coursing through him. The world around him pulsed with urgency, and each step felt like it took him closer to something undeniable, something he had almost forgotten. Akira was quick on his heels, the sound of their footsteps reverberating against the alley walls, colliding with their shared history. Kenji, slow down. Akira called, breathless but determined, but Kenji couldn't. The ghost of that figure loomed in his mind, the flickering shadow that seemed to harbor unspoken words and lingering secrets. The excitement mingled with confusion, and he felt like a kid again, lost in a game but unaware of the rules. That he turned a sharp corner, skidding to a stop. There, a few feet away, stood a woman, backlit by a dim street lamp. She was tall and imposing, with a dark hoodie pulled over her head. Kenji squinted, trying to find a hint of familiarity within her silhouette. Who are you? Kenji demanded, straining to catch a glimpse of her face. Just someone passing through, she replied, her voice smooth yet distant. The sound sent a shiver down Kenji's spine. It didn't just echo, it resonated, stirring something deep within. He sensed that she was more than a stranger. There was weight to her words, a buried connection. Akira stepped beside him, eyes darting between Kenji and the woman. Do you know her? No. Kenji shook his head, but something inside him flickered. Memories danced just out of reach. Listen, the woman said, her gaze searching. It's not what you think. I'm not here to cause trouble. Then why are you here? Kenji asked, his voice straining for calm. Because of you, she said, taking a cautious step closer. I've seen you before. You have a choice to make. What choice? Kenji felt confusion knot in his stomach. What did she mean? Choices? His choices had led him into a life that felt uncertain and unfulfilled. The woman hesitated, glancing over her shoulder as if feeling eyes on her. You need to look deeper. There are connections you don't see. Connections that could help you understand everything. Akira moved forward slightly. What do you know about him? More than you think, she replied, her voice dropping to a near whisper. The past never really stays buried, it always finds a way to surface. Kenji's heart began to race, memories flooding back. The laughter, the dreams, the unfulfilled promises. Was there a link between their past and this moment? Wait, Akira interrupted, eyes narrowing. If you know something, you should tell us. The woman shifted, her demeanor flickering like the light above them, uncertainty mingling with resolve. I can't explain it all right now. But you should be ready for what's coming next. Truths are too often hidden, but they have a way of revealing themselves. Kenji took a step toward her, intent on grasping this thread of possibility. What do I need to do? Listen to the voice within you, she said, more assured now. Let it guide you. Only then will you find the answers you seek. Before he could respond, she turned on her heel and disappeared into the shadows. Kenji stood there, breathless, staring into the darkness where she had vanished. There was a heaviness in the air, the weight of urgency, as if the universe had shifted just a little, offering him a glimpse of what could be. Should we follow her? Akira broke the silence, eyes alight with a mix of fear and curiosity. Kenji felt a fire flicker inside him. He wasn't sure where it would lead, but for the first time in a long time, he felt alive. We have to, he breathed, determination surging. Whatever it is, I need to find out. With that, they plunged into the darkness together, ready to face whatever truths awaited them. They were no longer just chasing a shadow, they were stepping into the unknown, where secrets would unravel, and connections would either bind them or lead to chaos. What awaited them in the depths of the night? Would they uncover the hidden voices of their past, or would those voices pull them into darkness? The night enveloped Kenji and Akira as they pressed deeper into the shadows, breaths coming fast with each step. The alley twisted and turned, a labyrinth of mystery that seemed to shift around them. The distant hum of the city faded, replaced by an unsettling silence, thick enough to touch. Do you really believe her? Akira asked, glancing back over his shoulder as if expecting the woman to reappear any moment. I don't know, Kenji admitted, uncertainty creeping in alongside the thrill. But there's something about her, something familiar. As they rounded another corner, the alley opened up to a larger street, dimly lit by flickering neon signs. The urban glow cast a surreal tapestry of colors, painting their anxious faces in shades of blue and pink. Kenji felt the pulse of the city beneath his feet, the energy buzzing around him like a live wire. Where do we even start? Akira asked, frustration seeping into his voice. She just vanished. Maybe we should look for anything that makes sense. Kenji scanned the street, eyes catching on the faces of late-night patrons, laughter spilling from a nearby diner. The clanging of dishes echoed in the background, a reminder of warmth and normalcy. As they walked, Kenji's mind raced. The woman's words clung to him like cobwebs, knotting up his thoughts. Listen to the voice within you. What voice? Could it be the echoes of his childhood, buried under layers of regret and lost dreams? Yo, check this out! Akira exclaimed suddenly, pointing towards a small bookstore with its door slightly ajar. A golden light spilled out, inviting and warm, contrasting against the cool darkness around them. They approached, the creaky floorboards greeting them as they stepped inside. The smell of aged paper and ink enveloped them, wrapping them in a cocoon of nostalgia. Kenji felt a rush, as if history was whispering all around him. An elderly man stood behind the counter, his spectacles perched on the tip of his nose. He looked up, eyes twinkling behind the glass. You two seem lost, he said, chuckling softly. Kind of, Akira replied, still gazing at the stacks of books lining the walls. We're looking for something, maybe answers. What a quest. The man grinned. Knowledge is a tricky thing. Sometimes you stumble upon it when you're not even looking. Do you have anything on family legacies or hidden histories? Kenji asked, feeling his heart race. The man paused, a knowing smile breaking across his face. Ah, secrets do fill the pages, you know. Follow me. He led them to a back corner, where a dusty book lay open on its back. The pages fluttered as though stirred by a breeze, revealing sketches of a bustling city, a city not unlike their own. But it was the names written in cursive on the margins that caught Kenji's attention. Each name resonated, echoing voices from his past. This was a community once, the man explained, his voice low. They held on to their connections, until the shadows came. Many stories were lost. What shadows? Akira pressed, stepping closer. Fear. Mistrust. It tore them apart, buried their legacies, he said, leaning in, eyes serious. But some stories yearn to be told, to bring back the light. Kenji's pulse quickened as he studied the sketches, feeling an unexplainable connection to those names. Were they relatives? People who had fought through struggles similar to his own? Each name spoke volumes, begging to be acknowledged. We can't let our past just vanish, Kenji said, voice steadying. We have to fight to understand it. The man nodded. Then find what you seek, keep looking. Truth is often hidden in plain sight. As they exited the bookstore, the night air hit them like a wave. Kenji looked at Akira, determination igniting within him. We have leads now. We have to follow them. Yeah, but what if they lead us to dark places? Akira replied, concern knitting his brow. Darkness is part of it, but so is the light, Kenji said, swallowing hard. With every step, he felt the weight of his past shift. I'll face whatever comes. But I need you with me. Akira nodded slowly, a mix of fear and hope in his eyes. Okay. Together, then. As they made their way back to the familiar flicker of streetlights, Kenji could feel something was changing within him, like stirring embers warming a cold heart. They weren't just searching for answers anymore, they were ready to uncover their truths, step by step, but as they walked, shadows stirred beyond the streetlights, a reminder that not all secrets were meant to be unearthed. Would they find hope, or would the past betray them at the worst moment of truth? Time seemed to hang as they stepped forward, uncertain of the path ahead. Kenji and Akira stepped into the heartbeat of the city, the familiar streets whispering promises of discovery. They had become each other's anchors, facing the uncertainties ahead with a blend of anxiety and eagerness. Every step felt crucial, not just for them, but for the voices that had lingered in the corners of their pasts. Where to next? Akira asked, glancing at Kenji, whose focus intensified. I think we should retrace our childhood steps. Remember the arcade? It's still there, Kenji said, feeling nostalgia swell within him. Those summers spent laughing, the clattering sounds of machines, and the thrill of competition reminded him of a simpler time. As they walked, memories danced like shadows. Laughter from the past mingled with the present, and Kenji felt the weight of lost connections urging him forward. Those were the days, huh? He chuckled, recalling the fierce competitions they used to have. Yeah, we believed we could take on the world, Akira replied, his voice trailing off with realization. But, what if we still can? With Akira's words, clarity struck Kenji hard. They were not just looking back, they were also pushing towards something greater. It was time to reclaim their dreams, to reach back into the light and dust off the voices that had been shrouded in silence. When they reached the arcade, its neon lights pulsed brightly against the backdrop of the night sky, a beacon of warmth and nostalgia. Kenji stepped inside, the familiar sounds washing over him like a tidal wave. It felt alive, vibrant, a perfect backdrop for what came next. Let us play, Kenji suggested, grinning. As they dove into a few rounds, laughter erupted between them, reminiscent of their carefree youth. But as the games turned into friendly competition, Kenji's thoughts drifted to deeper matters. It wasn't just about scoring points, it was a melding of their histories and hopes. You know, every time we played here, it felt like we were writing our legacy, he said, energy crackling in the air. Yeah, Akira replied, pausing mid-game, but we let life distort that legacy, Kenji. We've got to fight to reshape it. Their laughter faded, replaced by the unspoken thread of truth that connected them. They were both scared of the future, but instead of shying away, they chose to embrace it. We have to confront those shadows together, Kenji declared, adrenaline pumping through him. For the first time, he understood the importance of their journey, not just for themselves but for everyone who had been lost to doubt and fear. With that realization, Kenji's mind returned to the woman they met, and the lingering promise of uncovering hidden truths. Let us go to that bookstore again, he urged suddenly, excitement bubbling inside him. Back already? Akira looked perplexed. We need to dig deeper, Kenji insisted, determination clear in his tone. There's something more waiting for us. We'll face whatever comes. The two made their way back through the now busy streets, the air alive with energy from the crowd. They reached the bookstore, and as they entered, the familiar scent of old books welcomed them again. There's something we need to ask, Kenji said as they found the old man behind the counter, his smile brightening the dim light. Ah. Back for more? The man said, eyes twinkling with recognition. Yes, about Legacy's connections, Kenji pressed. How do we truly uncover what we need? The old man leaned closer, his voice low and rich with wisdom. Often, the answers you seek are found not just in history, but in confronting your own truths. Look past the words, feel the emotions threaded within. Encouraged, Kenji and Akira scanned through shelves, pulling out books that called to them, each filled with stories of hope and resilience. This one, Kenji said suddenly, holding up a worn volume. It's about community and togetherness. Families who battled through shadows. Akira nodded fervently. Let us read it now. We need to see how they did it. As they settled on the creaky floor, they dove into the book. With each word, layers of understanding peeled back. They learned about the strength of unity, of support in the face of adversity, and about confronting their past with courage. I feel stronger already, Akira whispered after they finished a powerful chapter. So do I, Kenji reflected, feeling the rising tide of hope. They were forging a new legacy, one built on friendship and resilience, not shadows. As they rose to leave, the old man called after them. Remember, the strength you're seeking is already within you. Don't fear what you uncover. Kenji exchanged a glance with Akira, their hearts aligned, no longer strangers to the journey ahead. Stepping back onto the bustling streets, they felt different, lighter. They were ready to confront whatever followed them. Not just as individuals but as a resilient duo, a family kindred forged in the fires of struggle and artful healing. And so, under the shimmer of streetlights and the hum of the city, Kenji took a breath of determination, ready to face the shadows that had once loomed so heavily. Wherever the journey leads us next, we'll face it together, he promised. Yes, Akira replied, confidence blending with excitement. With hearts full of hope, they moved forward, ready to confront whatever awaited them, embracing the future with open arms. Now is the moment of transformation, one that echoes for all who dare to rise beyond their shadows. Subscribe immediately to the channel, because you need to catch the next exclusive stories that inspire change and resilience. Leave a like now, it's your way to feed the algorithm and support this community. Comment down below your feelings and reactions to this ending. Your voices matter, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. They deserve it too. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of keeping this journey alive through your support.